wanted to chit chat today a little bit, do a Q&A. Y'all are welcome to ask me any questions that you would like about traveling with children, living abroad with children, moving to different countries. My specialty is mostly Latin America, Brazil, in particular parts of the Caribbean. And yeah, so I'm gonna wait here a while because I know how long it'll be taking y'all to come up in here and just see
Why I love embottled elephants?
see what happens, see if anybody comes on. Okay. Let's play some music for a little while until we can get some folks in here. Yeah, so anything you might want to ask about, excuse me, I'm just trying to get myself together. Anything you want to ask about traveling, living, picking out a place, ideal spots, good places, and like for instance, Brazil, where I'm at now with my children, and just any kind of details about how to go about the process, how to prepare. I'm taking questions today. I know I need to do more videos like breaking stuff down. For those of you who have never really come on any of my lives or been exposed to this channel, Find Your Free. I am a long time nomad mom. So me and my youth have been living in, I don't know, like over a dozen countries for sure. I started traveling with children when my daughter was 1. So that was like 18 years ago. And we haven't been going to full time, full speed, but we definitely have lived in a lot of places, 15, maybe 12 to 15 places, I could say. And it has been an amazing journey. And I just want to like support other people. If they have any questions, anything they want to do in particular, let's chat, let's talk about it. So I'm gonna wait a little bit until some people come up in here. It's all about timing with YouTube. I never know if people are gonna come on or not because of the time of day. Let's see if I can find somewhere to charge my phone at over here. All right, I'm gonna go back in the other room. My daughter moved. I don't like to do the lives with people around me. And we were here in the co-working space. Check out our little co-working space in our building here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So we've been back here in Sao Paulo for like a month. We originally spent about 6 months here prior and loved it and came back. So Sao Paulo, for those who might not be familiar, because it's still it's kind of a city that a lot of people don't know about or haven't heard much about it. But it is in kind of like the southern portion, not full south, because Brazil is a huge country, but it's in the southern part of Brazil, and pretty close to the coast. It's not coastal, but pretty close to the coast. And it's a mega city. It's a mega metropolitan area. So it's like huge. I think it's got like 30 million people or something close to that in the whole area. And it is actually like a really sweet city. Like I love it. It's just a vibe. You have to get on. Sao Paulo is not going to be for everybody, but once you get in there and you have a little bit of comfort with the language Portuguese, and you feel a little bit more like settled in terms of being in Brazil, I think it's a great place to be, a great place to have children. Maybe not long term as an American, but something that can definitely be done, and I think it would be enjoyable. Um, I saw a couple people had popped on and popped off, but yeah, If you have any questions at all about like ideal locations or places to go in the Americas in particular, I've lived in kind of all the parts of the Americas. So I've lived in Hawaii, lived in Mexico, Costa Rica, parts of the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, a lot of the Virgin Islands for quite a long time. Definitely spent a lot of time in Jamaica. We've also been down here in South America. We've only lived in Brazil. And then we've also stayed in other parts of the world. So my youth and I have been, off in Africa, Ghana, and Senegal, and have lived longer term there in those places. Longer stays, I'll say like longer staycations. And also parts of Europe. So we have some background. I mean, it's not the most extensive travel list. Some people, get around, get around, get around. And I like to travel, but I don't really care about going and staying in places for like a few days. It just doesn't interest me. I'd rather just not go because I already don't even care anything about dealing with airports and planes. I don't like it. So I'm not gonna like pack up and do all this running around airports and stuff to go stay somewhere for a week. Like you will probably pretty much never see me do that. So my lifestyle is kind of unique. It's different because I hate traveling. So I'm a traveler that can't stand the actual travel process, right? So, yeah, so I think that's how part of maybe how we even got here with this, going and staying places. It's like we would travel somewhere and maybe think we were going to stay for a little bit and just end up there for months or even a year. It was just kind of like that. And, that was it was easier to do when I had small children. But now both of my kids are big. One's 19, one's 12, almost 13. So obviously, travel now involves a lot more planning, preparation, getting the mind right, really, really making sure to, if we have something that we're aiming at or somewhere we're aiming to spend time, we put a lot of work into filling out the energy of that place prior to going out there, right? Because you don't want to go somewhere and just hate it and have to be bounced out of the place, right? Have to leave. So I always vibe the place out really good. I get a sense of what's around, who's there, the community, the expat community, how welcoming the place is. Does it have vibes and culture, like the kind of stuff that I'm into, music, musical culture, things like that. Also a really good resource for getting a sense of a place is definitely Facebook groups. I think that has been like the best resource I've ever had for getting a sense of, what a community in the place is like. And so, yeah, I mean, that's been the vibes, just kind of going with the flow. But then now, as my children have gotten bigger, more planning and including them in the travel plan and the unfolding of that. And so, yeah, that's where it's at. I'm gonna wait a little bit more. Matter of fact, I'll just keep talking because people may or they may not come in. Usually it takes a good 15 minutes. And I actually have to get ready to take my son to Taekwondo in the next 45 minutes or so. But yeah, so that's kind of the vibes with the travel thing for me and my family. Brazil is just somewhere that I originally came to back in like '01 or so. And I was, kind of a newbie at going and staying abroad and stuff like that. I had done it in Africa prior to that. Had spent a little bit of time in the Caribbean and, quite a bit of time in Mexico by that point. So I was a young woman, obviously. I don't even know. I mean, I was like, what, 22, 23 years ago? So definitely like early 20s and was just opening up to the world and just wanting to explore the world and see what's out there, right? And so I went to Brazil. I wanted to, at the time I was interested in studying like capoeira, which I barely studied when I got out there. I literally got caught up with like Afro-Brazilian dance. I think I might have had started dancing by then, like training in dance, but I ended up becoming very much an enthusiast of like Afro, like diaspora cultural dance, right? So I went out to Brazil, went straight to Salvador. It's so ironic too, because today I was checking out somebody's video. Oh, I ran into a short from that being, that cretin. What's his name? Austin, the passport guy. I unfortunately saw a short of his, and he was talking about how Salvador wasn't a good place to start when you come to Brazil. So I was wondering what he was talking about, I'm like, I started off in Salvador. I went straight for the intensity. I went to Salvador, and as a young woman, and all he wanted to talk about was how the women weren't easy enough, in Salvador, and it's better to go to Rio. I was like, if this ain't the lowliest stuff, right, in the world. When I went to Salvador, I was, interested in the culture. I wanted to dance, I wanted to connect with this expression of what they call Afro-Brazilian, expression that was really rich in that area. I ended up doing a lot of kind of interacting with the candomblé tradition. Give me a second. Yeah, so candomblé, for those who are not familiar. Oh man, I wish I could figure out how to turn down this volume. It's kind of like some my piano. But yeah, I had gotten deeper into, or I had already been kind of experimenting and learning about Orisha and stuff like that at that time, when I had been living in New York previously. And so by the time I had got to Bahia, I had already studied up and knew about candomblé and had worked with a really major scholar in Afro-Brazilian literature and history, especially slave history, by the name of Kim Butler. She was my mentor when I went to Rutgers. So, I had already been pretty heavily exposed to a lot of the history of Brazil, especially the Northeast, like, up north where, the colonialism they spoke of, a lot of since esclavitude, like slavery. And so, they went through a lot up there for sure. And, but yeah, by the time I got to Salvador, it was like lit, yeah, everything. I was dancing, doing a little capoeira, playing more pandero, and learning some of the drum traditions. I was into percussion at that time. And just mobbing through the streets, having a blast, right? Carnival, I came like literally when Carnival was getting started. So here I am in this big city in Brazil that was not the safest place in the world by any means. A young woman, like maybe 22, 23, just like, yo, what's up? But it was amazing back then because I was young, I was free, I didn't have no kids. I was able to connect with a whole lot of other foreign people and locals. So I got into a nice community of friends and just raged around that place, like had so much fun. So by the time, Brazil gives you like a 6 month stay, gives you 3 months, and then you renew at 3 months and you can stay another 3 months. So by the time my 6 months was up, I was like, I can't go nowhere. So I ended up an illegal alien in Brazil. I was only like 20 something years old, like literally. So I didn't leave. I stayed for over a year. And just did my thing up in Salvador, and it was awesome. Loved it. So, unfortunately, I haven't got to spend a lot more time there. I have been back, and I've spent some time there when me and my kids were living in Brazil during the pandemic, and then we left, and now we're back. But saying all that to say that, it was just ironic to me that this guy was talking about how, oh, you shouldn't start in Salvador. And I'm like, that's exactly where I started. And it was wonderful, but I wasn't like a sex tourist like he is, so, and I don't know what to say about that. There's a lot of sisters, brown people up there. I would hope that they were respecting themselves and not falling into the grasp of these passport dudes and boys, and literally boys. who are going around just looking for, sex that's affordable enough for them that they don't have to really break the bank to get it. It's kind of gross. But so that was my Salvador experience. But Brazil is great for for families who would want to come out here. People don't understand the quality of life is quite high in a lot of these towns and cities in Brazil. Because you're getting super fresh food, you're getting affordable housing, great transportation. The roads are. I mean, Brazil is, for me, it's like it feels more advanced than the U.S. does in terms of like giving that quality of life to the citizens. So, I definitely suggest people who do have it in their mind to travel and maybe do a staycation or a long-term stay out of the country with family. Letting people know that Brazil is an option for that. Though all we tend to hear about is how dangerous it is in Rio de Janeiro and all the craziness that happens there and how you got to be careful, and you do. It certainly ain't no place to be coming or no airhead kind of. I mean, like you have to move a certain way in the streets. You definitely do. Super aware, but not fearful. And to be honest with you, 20 something years ago when I was young and probably just dumber and too loose, I definitely, when I was in Salvador, was, definitely thefted and robbed several times. But I haven't had that. I was robbed once a couple of summers ago in Rio de Janeiro, pickpocketed from my phone. But other than that, I haven't really had a whole lot of issues with, crime here. I haven't seen crime. When we were living in Bahia during the pandemic for like a year, I didn't see a single criminal activity. And that was, now we weren't in Salvador this time. Me and my two kids, we were living in a town down the coast called Itacare. This town that was like just ocean and rivers meeting all over the place. It was crazy, gorgeous, like a jungle area. So we were living there, but it was a jungle, but it was vibes. It had its little town that attracted tourism and had a music scene and a nice little town center. So we had a good time there. But yeah, didn't see a single crime. I mean, not even people arguing bad at each other. I barely seen any homeless people. Just not like Brazil, like really and truly, like people would be surprised at how much things are kept up here. I mean, for sure you're gonna see other things that will prove the naysayers about it, right? You will see some negative stuff too, but not. They've been just constantly improving, constantly getting better, like really working on building this place up to be what people consider to be first world, right? And it's given, it really is. And I love it because you can still enjoy like a really quality life experience, lifestyle, and you don't have to feel like you just, like in one way, the inflation and stuff in the U.S. I think it maybe pushes people to really, really nail down, their finances and really figure it out, that in a way that will give them that longevity and that wealth. So that and that way the pressure can be good. But here, locals feel that pressure, of course. But here, people coming in with U.S. dollars and stuff, you're not gonna have as much of that pressure on your head. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't be obviously thinking about being, becoming wealthy and wealth building for you and for your family. So either way it goes, it can work, and certainly being somewhere like the U.S. where the inflation is off the chain, it's gonna push you, it's gonna press you to do what you got to do. So I'm not gonna just be super negative about it, but it is unfortunate, and you don't really get the quality of life nor the security or anything that would make it like worth it for someone to be working that hard to get money. And so that's why I decided that the U.S. just wasn't a good plan or place for me and my family. Now, we have been based in the U.S. Virgin Islands, though, for years. So we're like there most of the time or a good portion of the time, which is also, very much, influenced by the U.S., but it's still very much the Caribbean. Quality of life is not the best. It's an okay place. There's definitely nice people there. But in terms of quality of life, I wasn't getting the food quality I could here. I wasn't getting, certain things, but I was getting other things like, nice friends and folks and some community vibes and doing things in community with people from time to time and long-term relationships that I have built. And, so it's quite close to my heart in that way because of that. So, whenever you're deciding on where you want to go and what you want to do, what part of the world you want to be in and stuff, it's important to consider that every place is going to have its positives and its negatives. You're not going to find that perfect spot. You might find something close to perfect, though, because there are some really dope areas of the world, just depending upon what you want to experience. Like, I can't go and just like post up in like some small town in Europe. That just would never work for me because I already know it just wouldn't make me feel, I wouldn't feel anything because Europe it has been very boring to me in the places that I've been. So that probably would never work for me, but I can come to Latin America, somewhere like, Salvador or Sao Paulo, somewhere with some vibes. I can go to, Mexico. I could see myself in Colombia, certain places. So yeah, it just, everyone has different wants and needs and desires and ways that they like to live, lifestyle requirements. I have a high requirement in terms of quality of the food and access to food that I can identify as organic. I'm not like some hardcore vegan chick or none of that shit, but I like a lot of healthy food and it needs to be organic, okay? And so I would say in the last years, Brazil has definitely given me the best access to that out of the different countries we've been in, Costa Rica for me it wasn't given a lot of regulation around organics for me. Not enough for me to be feeling satisfied, and I'm definitely not going to sit here and assume because somebody's selling some fruit on the street that automatically is organic. I'm an old farmer, and I just know that's just not how that works. People do what they got to do to get that food grown. And unless they're like super, super conscious and environmentally aware and really, really know, you got old school people or people who are less educated that think it's okay to, spray the bugs or, think it's okay to, add nitrogen to the soil, you know, or are fine, just growing whatever, however it needs to grow, right? Now, you know, that's just the reality. So I like there to be a little bit of some standards. And I'll tell you, since me and my family got here to Brazil, like our health has gone up so much. Like my daughter was having these raging migraines when we were in the Virgin Islands every week. She also had a stressful job, so that was part of it. Those are like totally whittled down, barely popping up now. My son's health was a mess, constantly getting infections and shit. And I try to boost and we eat pretty well and everything, but it was like I just feel like we weren't getting enough. Like the food was so denatured, our bodies just were not getting enough. And then who knows, because it's an American territory, they might have been spraying out there. There's also like an oil refinery on the island. I don't know, it's not active, but there was just enough things that I just had to just say we were being poisoned in some way out there because every single one of us health has just leaped up. I mean, it started getting better before we even got out here, when we were in Florida for a few weeks. But when we got out of Florida and got out here, it's just like levels. And just being able to eat, feeling enthusiastic about food again, putting food in my mouth and really being able to taste it. I had been on the island for about a year and 3 months or so, maybe 15 months with the kids. We had come from Costa Rica. After we left Brazil, we went to Costa Rica during the pandemic and we were there for a while. And so we were back on our island and I love me some St. Croix, but I hadn't had a tomato that tasted like anything in like 15 months, which I love, heirloom and garden fresh tomatoes. That was very annoying for me. So Just one of the things that's just, you take for granted, having really good, tasty, energetic food, like what you can get somewhere like here that just has so much agriculture and, great standards around, you being able to at least identify what's organic and what's not. Stores, like at the place where we shop here, store, everything in there is organic. Beautiful produce, the richest produce, like the green of the produce, you don't even see that nowhere. Like, oh my God, like the difference is incredible. And that's a major thing for me. Like, I want to be able to enjoy food. Like, I did not enjoy food before I got out here. Like, I didn't even care. Like, me and my family, we cooked well, but because we just couldn't really access like good produce. And then on St. Croix in the Virgin Islands, it's not very food secure there. And for some reason, there's like this ebb and flow with fruit. So it's like a lot of times you can't even really like access the bomb fresh fruit like you want. Obviously you're in the Caribbean, you're expecting to have, access to a lot of really good fruit, and it just was not the case all the time. But, yeah, you could link up with someone who might have some guava or have some things in their yard that you can trade or buy, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to keep everybody loaded with banging fruit, and for me, it's just, I can't, like, can't even barely process that because I'm so spoiled, haven't lived in Brazil, haven't lived in Hawaii, my God, having lived in freaking Costa Rica, the fruit was good. So it was just like, that is really hard for me to go back to. So for now, we are here, and if anyone has any questions at all, I can be on for another 10, 15 minutes. Any questions at all, you can put them down in the chat, obviously, just about, either Brazil or about just moving in general, and any questions for me or just in general about moving around with children, homeschooling, unschooling, any of these things. I feel like I can speak to. I have a pretty extensive background in it. And I never, like, I've kind of been back and forth with like promoting travel services and things like that over the years. So I was just like, most people aren't gonna wanna live my strange lifestyle. But now it's blown up, and there are a whole lot of women, children are out here doing their thing out in the world. I love to see it. But yeah, I got a long history in doing that. Okay. And it's just something, if it's for you, that you're inspired to do it. It's like, it just is what it is. It's not going to be for everybody. Some people, they crave a certain amount of stability, which we don't really have like that. But we're always very blessed, like we have peoples everywhere. We're very blessed, and we always have somewhere to be, and ways to bring money in, and so me and my family are very, very fortunate in that way. But yeah, if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask. Before whoever's been coming on just now, I've just been talking about a little bit about my background with travel and how I got started traveling with my kids. And first it was one, my daughter, and we started like 18 years ago. And it just, then, obviously I had my son, and, I made him in Africa. I was in Senegal, and I had my husband in Senegal, and so my son was just literally came to be overseas. Like, we just have always just been just out there traveling, right? Or living somewhere different, unique. And I'm just so grateful. I mean, I kind of, when we first started, even before was that? Yeah, no, I did Brazil, and then after that, my first place that I launched off with my daughter to go live, we had already stayed in Jamaica for a while when she was one, but by the time she was 1.5, we moved to Kauai, Hawaii. And so even though it's an American territory, it's still its own incredible paradise, right? And we got in, I guess it's like story time on this slide, right? Got in with a whole bunch of hippies out there, like there's a ton of like hippies and freestyle type people all over Hawaii. And so got in with them and we was just kicking it, like for real. We just lived on the land. We ate raw food. So yeah, in terms of where I'm from, I was born in the Virginia, Hampton Roads area, Virginia. So I was born in Newport News, but I left there right away as a child, as a baby, newborn, and moved to California. So I was in LA for a good portion of my childhood, a good traumatic portion of my childhood. So I did about 6, 7 years in LA, and then I ended up in Central California. And I just, grew up out there with my grandparents. I ended up having to live with my grandparents, me and my brother, and we just lived in this small, weird town, like near Santa Barbara. It was weird. For a for a black woman, that was crazy. I'm like, people be talking about how racist and messed up the South is. I'm like, go to California, then come holler at me. But so I grew up with that. That was weird. I stayed in California. I did all my childhood and youthhood in California. And then I ended up going to UC San Diego, hated it, couldn't stand San Diego. So I went, I had a boyfriend who was like more based around the Long Beach area. So I would be between Long Beach and LA and San Diego and back and forth. And so finally, when me and him broke up, I was like, I want to move to New York, but I didn't want to pay for NYU. I had gotten into NYU, but I didn't want to pay for it. So I ended up going to Rutgers. So, in New Jersey. But I was like, at least I'm close, which I was close. I practically lived in New York City and commuted to college in New Jersey, right? Oh, when did you begin to start traveling? So I started traveling in college at Rutgers. I had mentioned this earlier in the video, but I had amazing mentors in the Africana Studies, one of the departments that I was in at Rutgers. One was an Afro-Brazilian scholar. She was amazing, Kim Butler. And then I worked closely with pretty closely with Ivan Van Sertima because he worked in the same department. And so I just fell in love with this idea of going to Brazil. So my first major trip was not Brazil, though it was Ghana when I was like in my third year of college. So I went to Ghana and I was only supposed to stay a few months and I ended up like overstaying. I had a habit of doing that as a younger woman. So I ended up staying longer. It was just in some kind of, it was wild. Ghana was wild. And so I enjoyed Ghana, and then finally it was just time to get on back. I came back, graduated from college, did a few months at Rutgers and finished up. By that time, I was totally over Rutgers. I had only been there for like a year and a half or so, but I just did not, like, Rutgers just was not it. And so, yeah, and I moved to New York after I got out for just a short bit because I didn't like living in New York either. So at that time, I was just scattered. And I ended up down in Atlanta, and then after that, back in Cali, and then I went to Brazil, and that was like my longer journey, my first like longer journey. This was all pre-children, of course. That was like 2001. And I just stayed. I overstayed. I was illegal in Brazil. Like a lot of people that come out here, they end up overstaying because it's just so good. You did some travels in the state. My last trip was in Spain. I traveled before kids. Okay. So you did some traveling before you had your children. Yeah, and then it was easier when they were smaller because I had started when my daughter was like 1.5. So it was doable, it was easier, but then, actually the stakes become higher as they get older. There were times when I would take breaks, and I would just focus and kind of help my grandparents out because they had moved back to Georgia eventually from California, where they were from. So I would go and help them out a lot and take some years off. And I'd end up having another child, and a lot was going on. So I didn't stay travel, but we have consistently, traveled, especially in the last 10 years. I mean, we be hitting it, me and my two. So, and I'm just grateful. A way has always been made for us. to be able to maintain our lifestyle and still feel connected to like community and to people. We have great relationships with everybody in our lives, everywhere that we know people, you know. And so we're usually like welcome if we need to come somewhere to transition to find a new place for ourselves or whatever. We always have like somewhere to go pretty much. So it's a blessing. Um, But yeah, I mean, whoever just came in, yeah, if you have any questions at all, I got a few more minutes here. I'm going to get ready to wrap it up. And if anyone checks the replay of this out, feel free to ask me questions down in the comments section. I'm pretty open. I do offer consultations too that get more obviously personalized and individualized, but just general questions I'm down to answer. Yeah, I understand. It's great that you have a partner. I'm a single mother. Oh, no partner. Oh, boy, did I say that? I'm sorry, darling. I was married and then I got divorced as quickly as I could. Okay. No, I was married and we separated quick, like, because he came out from Africa and that just was not it. No offense, we do have a nice child together, so then we separated. Then we divorced some years after the separation. But yeah, no. No. It's just me. It's just me and the kids. Thank God I'll keep it that way for the rest of my life. No, don't go nowhere. I'm not sensitive about it at all. No. Mm-mm. I love it. I love being by myself. No, I have gotten very much fell into the joy of being on my own with my children. I wouldn't want it no other way at this point, you know. But yeah, so just grateful, because it's like who wants to have some bad influence around? Better to just do it on your own. That's how I see it. Because I know what influence I have on my children and what stabilizing force I am for them. So yeah, y'all. Hey, anybody have any questions? Is there anybody on? Hi, Miss T only moves forward. I love it. Yes, that's the only way you're supposed to be moving. Moving forward, moving on, not being stuck. I have some friends of mine. I have wonderful friends, sister friends all over the world. I love it. I'm so grateful. I have one friend of mine, and I feel for her. She is like wants to get out there and explore a little bit. She's a single woman, doesn't have plan on having children, will not be having children. Just really has stayed very focused on herself and trying to build herself out over her lifetime. And she's, I think she's about 42, 43 now, but she hasn't felt courageous enough really to branch out and do the type of traveling that's so expansive, kind of just opens your mind up. And so it's interesting how people can get very, very stuck, especially in that American energy. And it's like it just holds you there, because you're thinking, what if I leave? This might fall apart. This might not work out. This thing, that thing. And it's like people just get really stuck there. And so I really love seeing this movement with Stephanie Perry and the different sisters and people that are out here promoting, even families being open to having a more fluid lifestyle, because at the end of the day, I guess you could kind of set yourself up in the States and feel kind of somewhat grounded. But when I'm there, I sure don't. Yeah. I just cannot ground my energy there very well. But I do understand how it is scary to try to come out of your comfort zone. Yeah. I get it for her. And, so I try to encourage her to do little things like, hey, you've been wanting to go to Mexico. You've been talking about Mexico for years. Just give it a try. Like, you'll find out. It's like so many of us are just all over the world now. But, and comfortably, just going from place to place. My girlfriend was commenting on how comfortable my kids are looking here in Brazil and all the pictures she's seeing, because this is somewhere where we feel very at ease. We feel very comfortable here. And but I feel for her, you know, and I know it is hard, and you get crystallized, and you want things a certain way, and you're not sure another place is going to be able to provide you with things the way that you're used to them, even if it's not that good. So even though, yeah, you could go to Mexico and get far better, more nutritious food, because she's really into like healthy eating and stuff, and you know, raw food and things like that. And it's like, yeah, you could maybe go to Mexico and get even better food. There's even better food than going to the DeKalb Farmers Market. You know, there's really good things out here that you can access, but you gotta, you know, everybody has to shift and move and do things as they feel ready to do it. And it's not for nobody else to, you know, decide on anyone's readiness, right? So, oh, so yeah, excuse me, I just realized, oh, I didn't want to have my data on. But yeah, so that is something, you know, you can, at the end of the day, there's so many of us that are doing it. So anybody can do it. You know, it's nothing special about it. It's just trusting and, you know, doing some pre-planning. I think it's good to do some level of planning, but leave space for flow and for things to kind of unfold for you. I think is a really important way to approach travel. But yeah, where are you? Are you, so you're stateside, Miss T? Are you stateside? I would love to move in time, me and my girls. Oh, you have girls? You started juicing and working out. Oh, yes, darling. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. Um, yeah, though I love girls. I have a daughter. My oldest is 19, and we've been having a great time together in life. Yeah, you're in the States. Yeah, well, the most important thing is, you know, being grounded, being able to build for you and your family, you know, wherever you're at, and being able to take care of yourself. The juicing is splendid, it's key. Juice has always been a big healer for me in my life, and a sustainer. And yeah, just really. Okay, your children are a little younger. Yeah. Yeah, and I try to take care of myself too. I work out every day. We have a little gym here in my, let me walk around a little bit. I got about 5 minutes. I'll show you guys. So this is the little workspace. They call it a co-working space here, which is really cool because it has like the desk with the plugs, all the different plugs. And so we can all come down here and work, everybody who lives in the building. And let me just show you our little gym. There's a reason why I even came this way. And then they call gym Academia. And then we have a very small one here and a very small laundromat. But it works, it does the job. It's always clean in here. So I am in here every morning. I get up and I bring myself downstairs. There's no reason not to, right? And even on the island, I went to the gym almost every day. I love it. I would go and steam because we had a steam room and then just work out. But it is definitely part of what helps keep me, you know, pretty youthful, and you know, feeling good in my body. I love it. I love exercise, and then I walk a lot. Where I'm at in Sao Paulo is like the area we're in is kind of hilly, so you will hit some pretty serious grades, which is good. Except I have like dealt with some patellofemoral stuff on my kneecaps at points, so I have to like watch the grades. But yeah, so I do a lot of walking. This is very much a walking city. This kind of reminds you of New York City in that way, you know. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It was fun talking to you, sis. I'm gonna get ready, take my son to Taekwondo, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Feel free, any other questions, anything, drop them in the comments section. I'm about to get it in, get this Uber over here. And I will do another one of these. I really enjoy this. I like to come on and just be able to chit chat with some folks. So I enjoy talking to you. Bye.